I'm Wendy Rainey. This is a short story entitled Gary and Ray. For 30 years, I was glued to a plastic crucifix on the top of Ethel's TV set in a trailer park in El Monte. Bitch croaked about a month ago and I ended up on sale for $5 at a junk shop off of Magnolia. Rubbing shoulders with an Elvis whiskey decanter is not how I had dreamed of spending my twilight years. Besides, every time I tried to talk to him, he just stared off into space with that Elvis sneer. I thought he was a stuck-up little turd who thought he was too good to give me the time of day. But when he turned around to swat a fly buzzing behind his head, I could see the crack in his skull, which explained why he never spoke. After that, I felt awful for ever having thought anything bad about him. Anyway, I had gotten real sick of having to hear Ethel's soap operas all the time after she got laid off from the plant. And when she finally got another job, as soon as she'd come home from work every night, she'd turn on American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, or the Home Shopping Network. There's so much desperation in those shows that sometimes it would make my stigmata bleed. And it was a big pain in the ass because Ethel would have to have all of her little friends over to her trailer so they could watch me bleed during The Bachelor. They would just sit there gawking at me and taking photos while my blood collected into an empty Hungry Man TV dinner tray. It was about a year ago that I lost my best friend Ray. Ethel bought Ray after she saw the story of the Bible on the History Channel. Turns out that Jesus didn't have blue eyes and fair skin like me. He was brown-eyed and dark, so Ethel ordered an authentic Nazarene Jesus from the Home Shopping Network. When Ethel took him out of the box, I was impressed by his long white linen gown. It had intricate gold stitching and a gold belt. He was wearing sandals made out of real leather. Even his hair looked better than mine. I had strawberry blonde hair that was thinning at my temples. My skin was gray from the residue of the smoke that Ethel blew at me while she watched television. My white robe had been stained by the wine Ethel had sloshed on me one night as she adjusted her TV set. She cackled as she ripped off my wet robe and replaced it with a floral nightie she swiped from one of her baby dolls she collected. I felt like a slob next to the new guy, who had skin that glowed, brown eyes that caught the light, and thick dark hair that fell to his shoulders. When he moved, it was as if his feet were on fire. He came with a hand-carved wooden cross that Ethel positioned him on next to me on the TV. I was pretty leery of him at first. I had already been living on Ethel's Sony Trinitron for 15 years, so I wasn't exactly in the mood to share the spotlight with another Jesus, much less one about 1,000 times better looking than me. But nevertheless, I knew I had to get along with him if we were both to live atop Ethel's Sony. So I said, "Welcome to the trailer park, Jesus." He laughed and told me his name was Ray. He asked me what my name was, and I told him, Jesus. "Bullshit," he laughed again. "You look like a Gary. I'm going to call you Gary." He asked me what I did for fun. I told him the truth. "Nothing, man. I just stand here and watch Ethel drink and smoke. I can see the reflection of the TV screen in the microwave in front of me, so sometimes I watch the shows, but I try not to because they make me bleed." He looked into my eyes and said, "Stick with me, brother. It's the only way we're going to make it." That night, after Ethel had passed out drunk, Ray jumped off his cross and leapt over the set to where she was reclining on her lazy boy. He took her bottle of scotch and drank a third of it. He lit up one of her Pall Malls and smoked it, flicking the ashes into her Stardust Casino ashtray. Then he jumped up to the knick-knack shelf and started ogling the water nymphs in their pool. Ethel had a set of 10 porcelain nymphs in a glass bowl designed to look like a pond for bathing. She had filled the glass pond with real water and had fresh-cut lilies floating on the surface of the water. She had arranged the naked nymphs in seductive poses. It had never occurred to me that I could move around Ethel's trailer after she passed out every night, but Ray took it as a given that we had free reign of the place. He got a hold of the remote and turned the channel to the adult station. "Come on, Gary. Get your goddamn ass off that TV. Come on down here and live a little, motherfucker." Every night was a new adventure with Ray. Sometimes we'd sneak out of Ethel's trailer and lay on our backs on the grass and look up at the stars in the sky. Ray would talk about what he had read that day from the set of Britannica encyclopedias that Ethel's husband had left on her shelf after he split with her. The Cretaceous Tertiary extinction event was always on his mind. Ray would go on for hours about why the dinosaurs died out. After Ethel bought her first computer, Ray would get on the web and spend hours in video chat rooms while Ethel was at work. Sometimes after Ethel fell asleep in her chair at night, Ray would turn the camera on her and live stream her snoring, farting, and talking in her sleep. I don't know how he managed it, but he was able to get a hold of Ethel's PIN number and purchase his own iPhone on the internet. He opened up a Facebook page from his phone. He had over 4,000 friends from all over the world. He loved to take selfies of us swimming and drinking beer in Ethel's fiberglass pool. Sometimes Ray would snag a joint from Ethel's neighbor, and we'd float on the inner tube getting high and eating the leftover hamburger helper in Ethel's refrigerator. I had 14 of the best years of my life with Ray. But one night, about a year ago, Ethel came home from work, shit-faced and grumbling about the extra charges on her credit card. Apparently, she had caught on to Ray's activities. She picked him up and looked into his eyes. "You are the one who has been using my credit card, drinking my liquor, smoking my cigarettes, eating my food, and playing fast and loose with my nymphs. God only knows what else you've been up to, you son of a bitch!" Ray roared his baritone laugh in Ethel's face. Ethel lost it. "You sound just like my ex-husband!" she screamed, hurling him against the wall, smashing him to bits. That night I never bled so hard in my life. And it wasn't just blood. I started crying all the time, too. Of course, Ethel had to put me on display for the whole park to see every time I bled and cried. I really despised her. So when the old biddy finally bit the dust, I was happy as hell. I don't think I'll ever find another friend like Ray. I think about him all the time. And when I see guys like Elvis next to me with the cracked skull and empty eyes, well, I just want to throw myself off the highest shelf of this junk store and feel myself smash into 1,000 tiny pieces and have it done with for once and for all. It's a strange feeling to know that the best years of my life are already behind me.